Hello students, welcome back to our lecture for World Regional Geography. In this lecture we are focusing on the history and culture of the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia. This region is very particular and important. Here we have some of the historically oldest settled civilizations in this part of the world. We have a region known as the Fertile Crescent, which has been the cradle of two of the oldest civilizations that emerged in Mesopotamia between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and also ancient Egypt, which emerges in the Nile River and Nile River Delta regions. And as you can see, the availability of water and abundant water in this region was very important for the development of these ancient civilizations. And so in the region, we have had a long history of urbanization and agriculture as well. Despite the dry climate and the arid terrain, these three river systems produced a fertile region that was exploited by the inhabitants for agricultural production and gives us the rise of the first civilizations. Which is a very important development in human history. In the region, we are also going to see the ancient Greek empires develop an influence through, for example, the conquests of Alexander the Great, which invaded the region in 334 before the Common Era and established the city of Alexandria and then left a family lineage in Egypt. We also have the Roman Empire influence, especially in the northern Mediterranean, but also in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the provinces of Judea, and in the province of Aegyptus, which is Egypt, right? And so Aegyptus was one of the wealthiest Roman provinces. It produced a lot of grain, and this region was considered the breadbasket of the Roman Empire, and that grain, that extra food, right, was used to maintain the Roman armies that were very important for imperial conquest for the empire, for the Roman Empire. The images that I show you here are ancient Roman cities in modern-day Lebanon, for example, in Baalbek, but also in Syria. This is an ancient city that survived the attacks of the Islamic State in the city of Aleppo. Because both the Middle East and Central Asia are at the crossroads of several civilizations, this region is known for its cultural exchange and its emphasis on trade as well. A lot of the history of this region is tied to the Silk Road, for example, which connected India and China to Europe through Central Asia and the Middle East region. And much of the wealth of especially Central Asian cities has been historically connected to trade through the ancient Silk Road. The region also is known as for its connections between the Arabian Peninsula and the Islamic world that also built connections with Eastern Africa, Southern India, and later on South Asia, where the religion of Islam was also spread through trade. The rise of Islam is also a very important development in this region. If you know about the development of religions, Judaism gives rise to Christianity, and later on Christianity gives rise to Islam, or rather parts of Islam are very much influenced by the rise of Christianity. For example, the belief in one God and the belief in prophets. In the Quran, for example, the Islamic holy text, Jesus is considered one prophet among others, the latest being Muhammad, right? Muhammad the prophet. This religion is going to spread fast through trade, but also military conquest, and the core region is going to be around Medina and Mecca, which are holy cities in Islam like Jerusalem, and later it will spread through conquests by different rulers all the way to northern Africa under the Umayyad caliphs, and also southern Europe, especially in Portugal, Spain, and Sardinia, regions that become inhabited by Muslims. This region will also later on give rise to the Ottoman Empire, which will rule from about 1300 to 1923 until the end of World War I, when the Ottoman Empire loses the First World War, when they aligned themselves with Russia and with Imperial Germany and Austria-Hungary. As I mentioned, the Ottoman Empire is going to see its decline. It's gonna go from the regions in purple and orange as well as green, and later on by 1914, at the beginning of World War I, it's going to encompass mostly Syria, Iraq, Palestine, parts of Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. The French also got a lot of support from the local inhabitants that were oppressed by the Roman Empire, especially the Arabs of the region that wanted their own country, but also the Kurds. The Kurds are a group, an ethnic group that lives between modern-day Iraq, Turkey, and Iran. And the Turks were also promised independence from the Ottomans if they helped the French and the British to defeat the Ottoman Empire during World War I. However, through the secret Sykes-Picot Treaty, the French and the British decided to propose these independence to these countries, but in the treaty they negotiated that they would not recognize the independence of all these countries, especially the Kurds, and they decided to draw the boundaries of what the Middle East could look like after World War I. So today, when we think about the country and part of why it's unstable, part of it also has to do, just like in sub-Saharan Africa, it has to do with these arbitrary borders that the colonial powers decided to draw in the region, not respecting ethnic, religious, or linguistic traditions, okay? And so, as we will see later on in this slide here, modern-day Kurdistan is an ethnic region that stretches between Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Iraq, but none of these countries, of course, want to recognize Kurdistan as independence. And even when they were in Iraq, the United States invasion depended on the Kurds as a key ally. In northern Iraq, much of the Kurds are still in control, for example. However, even though they had a vote to support their independence, the United States, Iraq, and its neighbors did not recognize that independence. When we think about the region, we also have religious and secular traditions. Islam, of course, is the most dominant religion, with Sunnis, which are more Orthodox Muslims, as well as Shiite Muslims, and a certain interpretation of Islamic law in Saudi Arabia, for example, which is a Sharia Islam, which is the most conservative type of Islam. We also have Judaism, primarily in Israel and in some of the old quarters in cities like Cairo, for example, and other communities elsewhere, as well as Christianity, such as Coptic Christians in parts of Egypt and other Christian minorities in Lebanon. The region is also very diverse in terms of its language. However, as I mentioned, mostly Arabic is the ethnic majority, and the Arabic language as well is predominant. However, we are going to see diversity. For example, in Iran, we have a Persian predominance, but also Baluchi groups, along with Turkmen groups, Azerbaijani groups, and also Kurdish groups as well here in this region. And then we also have, of course, Turks, majority in Turkey, and Berber ethnic groups in North Africa, especially Morocco and Algeria. Okay, that's it for this region. In the next section, I will focus on the on the politics and economics of the Middle East and North Africa. Thank you.